Good afternoon and welcome to First Financial Biz Beat, presented by the Business Courier. I'm Kyla Woods. Well, for the first time in months, closings are being replaced with openings. On the front page centerpiece this week, the tri-state is starting to reopen, but going back to work will look much different than before. Healthcare clinics, chiropractors' offices, dentist offices are all back in business if they're ready. Come Monday, manufacturing, distribution, and construction will restart, but they're all under strict guidelines, and at the center of everything is safety.
I can't guarantee anybody's safety, but what we can do is do the things that we know will dramatically increase the odds for us.
A key liaison between the administration and Ohio businesses during this crisis has been Lieutenant Governor Jon Husted. Courier reporter Chris Wetterick spoke with Husted about the state's reopening strategy, and Chris joins us now live via Skype with what Husted had to say. Chris, thanks for joining us. Okay, so based on your conversation with the Lieutenant Governor, what key factors led to the decision to start Ohio's reopening?
Well, Kyla, it was a number of things, but mainly they believe that the economy cannot stay closed forever, not forever, but for a very long period of time, because it when you do that, it also brings other health effects that have nothing to do with the coronavirus. When they look at this, they think about the stress that it causes people not to be working or not to have income or not to have their business open. And they know that that causes stress for people. It probably causes heart attacks. It probably causes domestic violence. There's just a number of factors that are health related that make them believe that they need to try to open the economy as best that they can at this point. And I think that's the main factor that they were concerned about.
What measures are being considered and whether or not now is the time to reopen, and if we should anticipate a spike in cases?
Well, Kyla, the main thing that they are looking at, I pointed out that the federal government's guidelines actually kind of recommend to have 14 days of declining cases before you take a look at reopening. The lieutenant governor's response to that was, well, look, we've had a very kind of poor testing regimen at this point, and we haven't had enough tests. And so the thing that he is looking at and the administration is mainly looking at is the number of hospitalizations. And they point to that peaking at the beginning of April, maybe about April 2nd. And it has kind of plateaued. It's declined a little bit and plateaued ever since. And that has given them the confidence to start this process at this point.
Did Lieutenant Governor Husted speak specifically about economic risks involved with not reopening and what impact that might have on businesses and families?
Right. As I said earlier, they definitely are concerned about that. They're concerned about the mental health consequences of continuing to be closed, continuing to have people not work. And that is a major deal for them. That's something they worry about, and they believe that the longer this goes on, the more of those types of factors you have as a concern going forward.
There's been quite a bit of concern around still not opening restaurants and bars, which of course are a huge source of revenue, and it seems would have a similar ability to socially distance as other industries. Did Lieutenant Governor Husted speak on that?
Yeah, yes, he did, and that's something that they're looking at as well. I pointed out to him there was a restaurant owner in Cincinnati who had a tape measure out, and he was kind of showing, look, I can have 6 feet of distance between tables. And his response to that was he understood that. He tended to agree with it, but when the health experts take a look at that, the thing that they kind of push back on is they can, when you have an employer like a manufacturer who has the same 25 people coming in every day, they can, if somebody gets sick, they can trace that person's movements back and potentially isolate the case. If you have hundreds of people coming in a restaurant or dozens of people getting their hair cut, that kind of contact tracing and isolation becomes a lot more difficult. So they've pledged to work with restaurant owners, and they're talking to them now. There's a task force to basically study how to get restaurants open for dine-in. And they're trying to figure that out, and they seem to be committed to doing that. They're not going to open it by May 15th, which is what the Ohio Restaurant Association had requested. So they said at this point it's not worth giving dates, but they're aware of the concerns, and they are committed to finding a solution forward once the businesses that are able to open in the early days of May are open.
Such important information in that story. Thank you, Chris Wetterick, for being with us today and working so hard on that centerpiece. We will certainly stay tuned for more information. Governor DeWine's gradual reopening appears to align with how Ohioans feel right now. More than half of those polled by Baldwin Wallace University say it's not time to reopen hair salons, restaurants, and playgrounds just yet. 70% prioritize public health over the economy. About the same number of people disagree with those protesting the stay-at-home orders and worry they might lead to a spike in cases. Kentucky is gearing up to reopen a number of businesses, but bars and restaurants will be stuck waiting.
This is hard on two ends. Number one, in seeing how the virus spreads, and it's hard to have a mask on when you eat. But number two, I know it's hard on the restaurant end if it was based on really limited capacity with the margins that they have to make that work. I know that might not be for everybody, but we want to work with you in the industry to try to figure out how to do this and how to do it safely.
Here's what is getting ready to reopen. May 11th, it's manufacturing, construction, dealerships, professional services, horse racing with no fans, and pet grooming and boarding businesses. May 20th, retail stores and houses of worship can restart. And on May 25th, barbers, salons, and cosmetology businesses will be able to open again. And 10-person social gatherings will be allowed, but everyone will need to be wearing a mask. Well, despite dine-in restaurants not getting the go-ahead, some of Cincinnati's most popular spots are open again, but for carry-out only.
We decided, let's just get it open, see if we can do a little bit of, business, start reconnecting with our vendors and bringing product in.
Thunderdome, the region's largest locally owned independent restaurant group, is behind places like the Eagle, Bakersfield, and Pep and Dolores. They also run fast casual spots, City Bird, and Curito locations. The pandemic is forcing a restaurant that's been around for decades to close. Sad news out of Blue Ash. A staple there, Parker's, is shutting down permanently. They posted a note on their website saying the uncertainty of the impact of the virus makes it difficult to plan a reopening. The restaurant will refund all gift cards. Well, every day, more flaws are being discovered with the now replenished Paycheck Protection Program. And that includes banks prioritizing its wealthiest clients, meaning many businesses were left with nothing. That's especially been true for minority and women-owned businesses. Experts believe 90% of those businesses were shut out of the program. So the Greater Cincinnati African American Chamber of Commerce and Mortar, the OTR-based accelerator that supports minority entrepreneurs, have launched an effort to help. They've created the Minority Business Emergency Assistance Fund. The money raised will be used in a variety of ways, including rent and keeping those small business employees on the payroll. There is information about how to donate and how to apply if you're a small business owner at thebusinesscourier.com. Well, local hospitals are cutting costs and furloughing employees. Cincinnati Children's says senior executives are taking pay cuts, and there will be no merit raises for any employees in the upcoming fiscal year. Those who are temporarily without work will remain employed with benefits, but with a 20% decrease in pay starting on May 10th. Children's took a major financial hit when it canceled thousands of elective surgeries. Same thing is happening at UC. The salaries of clinicians and administrators are being cut by 12% for 4 months. That includes the president and chairman of UC Physicians and the dean of UC College of Medicine and senior vice president of Health Affairs. The hope is to get them all back to their full salary in August. And Christ Hospital is furloughing some employees this month and next month because of a decline in revenue. Some of those receiving furloughs could include doctors and nurses who do not interact with patients. Those workers will keep health benefits and can also apply for unemployment. Well, it's the end of an era at Paul Brown Stadium. Andy Dalton, the face of the Bengals franchise for the last decade, is no longer a Bengal. The team released him on Thursday. Dalton had been the starter since the team drafted him out of TCU back in 2011. He won 12 games over his career, he won 70 games over his career, led the team to 5 playoff appearances, and threw more touchdown passes and completed more passes than any quarterback in Bengal history.
Always tough. I think the relationships you build with your teammates and they become lifelong friends. And, Andy was a tremendous person to be around every day, and to form a relationship with him, it's been special. And So yeah, it's always tough. It's always tough whenever you lose a teammate, and obviously one that's close to you, and it's part of the business, and that's the sour side of it.
The move frees up about $18 million in cap space for the Bengals. Dalton was set to earn that this season, the final year of a 6-year deal worth $96 million. The Reds could be back at Great American Ballpark within a couple of months. Major League Baseball is considering a plan for a 100-game regular season with teams divided into 3 divisions: East, West, and Central. Teams will play only within the divisions in order to limit travel and potential exposure to COVID-19. And at first, it would be without fans in the stands. Since there will be no games until at least June, the Reds are giving refunds. If you bought tickets to any game this year scheduled before June, you'll not only get your money back, but you'll also have the choice for seats for next year. Up next on First Financial Biz Beat, college athletes getting closer to getting paid for their fame. And one of the most famous is bringing his star power to the Queen City.
I can taste the Super Bowl. I can taste multiple Super Bowls in it.
And the demand for a new sandwich in his name has almost matched the hype surrounding his arrival. And congratulations to Tom Compton. The 40 Under 40 honoree is a partner with RKCA Investment Banking. College athletes are on the verge of being able to make money. The NCAA is behind a plan to let student athletes cash in on their names and images. So they'll be able to earn money from social media, personal appearances, and businesses they've started. The school they attended, however, cannot pay them directly. The NCAA membership will vote on the plan in January. There's a new option on the menu at Izzy's, named in honor of the Bengals' new quarterback, Joe Burrow.
He's a big boy. I mean, and we thought he's going to have an appetite, so let's make it a double meat Reuben. Let's put it on a striped marble rye bread, and let's really make sure that if he comes in and tries it, it's a full sandwich and he'll leave fulfilled.
Well, that supersized Reuben is called the Bengals King. Izzy says they've had to order more bread because so many people are coming in and asking for it. Well, Zoom and Skype have pretty much become the new normal for business meetings. Tiffany Adams founded Selly 5 years ago, in part to breathe life into the lost art of face-to-face communication. She talked about that a few weeks ago with First Financial Retail Region President Ilaria Rollins.
Thanks, Kyla. Tiffany, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely,
today.
my pleasure.
Tell us a little bit about Selly, which stands for Cincinnati Etiquette Leadership Institute.
Yes, Selly has 4 pillars of training, and basically Selly is professional development empowerment. So it's empowering our clients to project more authority and confidence and polish and professionalism. The 4 pillars that Selly is based on is women's leadership, business etiquette, cultural awareness, and then dining etiquette.
Great. You've been in business for several years now.
Yes.
You started the business from scratch. Tell us a little bit about what that path has looked like for you.
Yeah, I think every successful business focuses on a problem to be solved. And we basically identified a void, a gap in the modern workplace. And that was all about building meaningful relationships and having high caliber communications skills in today's digital world. I think the internet, the electronic devices have radically redefined how we're all communicating, and I think there's some mediocrity prevailing. People are becoming a little bit more casual and crass, have a little bit more digital courage behind the screen to say certain things that they wouldn't already say, and I think that affects relationship building. And at the end of the day, business is all about building relationships successfully.
Makes sense. I understand businesses seek you out to focus and engage their younger and newer employees.
Yes.
What do they specifically ask you to focus on with those?
Yes, the early career professionals, they are fascinated with certain curriculum. Some of our signature offerings are catalyzing a personal brand, the art of brilliant conversation and keen listening. The principles of professionalism and favorable first impressions, netiquette, which is email etiquette, LinkedIn etiquette, and smartphone etiquette. And it's all about projecting more authority and confidence with those skills.
What do you think the biggest challenges today that companies face from a modern etiquette perspective?
From a modern etiquette perspective, I think the biggest challenge is there seems to be a drop in empathy behind everyone in the modern workplace, because we are behind the screens a little bit more. So we're not hearing the tone of someone's voice. We're not hearing the pitch and the pause. We're not seeing the body language. So there's been a drop in empathy, which again goes back to affecting meaningful relationship building, which is so important. So I think addressing the drop in empathy, we're moving away from a place of professional courtesy. We're moving away from a place of respect. We're moving away from a place of empathy. And the foundational pillars behind Sully's training is heightening your self-awareness and your self-restraint so that we can get back to those fundamentals of heightening your self-awareness and self-restraint so that we can build relationships.
Tiffany, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Yes, it's a pleasure.
Kyla, back to you.
Thank you, Ilaria and Tiffany. Well, after the break, how you can still run the Flying Pig this weekend. Well, tomorrow would have been the Flying Pig, but as with everything else, coronavirus had other plans. It's now set for the second weekend in October, but since there are also several other big marathons at that time, we have some other options, including still running the Pig tomorrow. Iris Simpson-Bush chatted with Courier publisher Jamie Smith about this year's marathon.
Thanks, Kyla. Iris, thanks for being with me today. You know, right now you and I should be on the finish line, just finishing up the 5K, the 10K, the kids run, and all the fun weekend activities. But instead, you're sitting there planning in the planning stage, or I guess I should say replanning stage for the Flying Pig. Can you talk to our viewers, and many of our viewers I know are Flying Pig fans, what the new plans are?
Well, and Jamie, I will say it feels very surreal this whole week, you know, getting ready for the event that's not happening, but certainly brought back a flood of memories from previous pigs. So because of these, and you've heard everybody say unprecedented times, we're of course planning for the weekend of October 9th through 11th. We will be doing all of the Flying Pig events simultaneously with the Queen Bee events. The expo will start on Friday the 9th. As you said, the Saturday event will have the 5K, the 10K. Our lineup is shaping up to be very similar to what people have come to expect from the Pig and from the Queen Bee. Minor adjustment would be on Friday night when we do the 50 West Mile. We think we're going to do the Flying Fur there so we can allow for the Queen Bee 4 Mile on Saturday, and the half will move to Sunday with the Pig. So I never ever imagined that unplanning an event would take so much, and there would be so many details to address, to undo, and now we're redoing. But I must say the response from our running community and the community at large has been amazing. This weekend, the weeks leading up, and they'll be able to do it up until May 10th, over 5,000 people are doing a virtual Flying Pig, the event of their choice. And as you said, it could be the kids event, the 5K, 10K, whatever is happening for Flying Pig weekend. So that response has been amazing. We've had thousands who have signed up for the postponed event in October. Some did have to defer until next year or subsequent years, and we're good with that. Again, we are very grateful for the support. Financially, it enables us to be true to our mission. Our charity partners won't benefit maybe at the level that they did in prior years, but we can hopefully still stay true to that.
Yeah. Well, Iris, I know a big part of the Pig is volunteers. And of course, with any event, nonprofit events, sponsors. Are sponsors and volunteers, you still expect them there?
You know, Jamie, to this point, and of course, we all have uncertainty between now and October, but we have not had one sponsor back off of their commitments to us. It has been amazing. We've tried to retool and, you know, give them additional social media. The platform is so active right now with everybody seeking information, but not one has canceled their agreements. The volunteers, again, they're telling us if October happens, and we're very optimistic that it will, they'll be there.
That's awesome.
So again, the support has been amazing. The city, the people who are working with us to try to revamp, rework. So much is pushed to the fall that it's no easy task for anyone, but everybody's trying to be sympathetic and understanding of one another's challenges. And really, the support has been great.
Well, Iris, we talked offline. I think you said Boston is going on in September. Are many other races canceling, or are they all trying to postpone?
You know, a variety of responses. For example, Boston postponed till September. In fact, their city was so supportive, they've declared, I believe it's September 18th, Marathon Monday in Massachusetts. So they're getting a great deal of community support. Some cities or some marathons felt it better just to cancel this year. I know Pittsburgh canceled. Cleveland had to cancel. Some of that comes from not being able to reschedule an acceptable time within, you know, the framework of their community. So I won't say that anybody did it with a cavalier attitude, but some had to cancel. We felt great that we were able to postpone. Boston will be happening a little before us. So again, we have the advantage. Dave McGilvery has been a good friend to the pig, and he always promises to give any support or any advice or help. He's been great.
Well, Iris, I can't thank you enough. I know this has taken its toll on you as it is everyone else, because you are a perfectionist and you love the pig to be a perfection as well. And I know it will. I will be thinking about you, and obviously I will be there with you in October, and we will make this happen. Thank you very much. And I can't wait to see you at the finish line.
Ditto.
All right.
Well, thank you, Jamie and Iris, and thank you for joining us for First Financial Biz Beat. For business news around the clock, visit the CincinnatiBusinessCourier.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook, and be sure to sign up for our daily emails. I'm Kyla Woods. Have a great weekend.